Hello my friends, I'm Jana Eubank. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am up on the Scrapbook and Cards Today magazine blog with a designer's choice layout, and I chose to use the beautiful collection by Simple Stories called Wildflower. They were so kind to send me so many beautiful things to work with, and so I'm just going to flip through and show you all of the beautiful items that you can find in this collection. I love the florals, I love the beautiful artwork, the colors. It's going to be a lot of fun to work with. The other item I'm going to work with today are two die sets from Scrapbook.com. I'm using the A2 Honeycomb background die and then also the Sprigs dies. Now I am starting off with these two photos of my daughter. I just matted them on some white cardstock and I'm looking through all the pattern papers to find the one that I want to use as my background. I decided to go with this gray tonal paper and I love it. It's so cute. So I love working with chipboard frames. They're one of my favorite embellishments. And today I want to show you a different way to use the frames. Typically when we think of frames, we think of framing a photo or framing our journaling or creating a shaker type element with the frame. But today I'm going to use the frames as a layering element on my layout. Now I wanted to fill the frames with something different than just leaving them open or filling them with pattern paper. So I decided to cut out some of these A2 honeycomb panels with using the Scrapbook.com die. And I'm going to back those frames with these panels. Now, quick tip here, I used my hand to just kind of smush that die cut into the glue. And one thing that you can use instead is a scrap piece of paper, and that way your hands won't get glue all over them. Yep, I learned the hard way, but that's okay. I will just pass that tip on to you. So you'll see here how I'm just putting this piece in place, and then I'm using a piece of scrap paper to just press it down into the glue. Now these frames, just little portions of that honeycomb pattern are going to be peeking out. You're not going to see all of it, and that's okay. It just adds this really interesting visual layer, and it's almost like your eye catches it and you're like, oh wait, what's going on over there? So it's just something fun and interesting and different to do. So I'm going to go ahead and arrange these. I'll have the circular photo to the left, and then I'll arrange my two photos on top of that larger frame. Now as I go to secure everything in place, I don't want my photos to sag in the spaces where there isn't chipboard. So I'm just placing some thin foam tape to bring up the level behind those photos and adhere everything together, and that works really well. Now that I have this basic design in place, I'm going to start building some layers behind my frames. So I want to build a reverse L shape of strips to anchor this design. So the first paper I choose is this yellow with the large floral, and I'll just tear the ends to size and then place that along the right hand side. I'm going to select a different pattern paper to go across the bottom, creating that reverse L shape. Now this collection has so many beautiful patterns. At this point, I'm really enjoying the softness of this layout. I'm using the gray, I'm using the dusty blues, the yellow, and I'm thinking I want to keep it fairly monochromatic. So I choose this pillow ticking stripe that has the dusty blue, and I'm going to add that across the bottom of the chipboard pieces. So I am going to add some interest by treating the ends of each of these strips in a different way, so that you can see the yellow piece, I tore the ends, the stripe, I used pinking shears, and then I'm going to add in another strip that I will cut the ends straight. So I'm grabbing the 6x8 pad with the smaller scale prints, and I'm looking for a yellow piece that I can add to that pillow ticking stripe. While I'm flipping through that paper pad, I see this large feature type paper with the large floral, and I'm thinking, oh, that might be fun to fussy cut and add behind this whole design. But I'm not sure if I want to do that yet, because I do really like this monochromatic look. And so I set that aside for a minute and continue to look for this yellow paper. I end up cutting a little strip from the 12x12 yellow plaid paper to go across that, and you can see I'm just going to cut it as straight. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, do I want to introduce pink or do I want to keep this really soft and quiet? Because my photos are neutral and everything else so far looks really neutral. So while I'm thinking about that, I'm just flipping through the journal bits and I'm looking for some additional accent pieces that I might want to add. Now, I really love the honeycomb die cut peeking out, behind the pictures in those frames. I love that the honeycomb kind of is bees. It reminds you of the garden along with all the florals in this collection. But there's this odd little piece at the bottom of the second photo, and I decide that I am going to cover that just because it feels like visually too much happening with the strips at the bottom of the page. So I find that phrase in the journal bits and I go ahead and adhere that over the bottom of that second photo. So now that I have that going, I do decide, yeah, I love that large floral, so I'm going to fussy cut it out, and I am going to introduce some of these pinks and dark pinks into the page. So for right now, I'm just tucking it behind. I'll come back and adhere it into place, but I'm going to look at the title options. So I'm pulling out the foam stickers, and I love these for titles. I love the dimension that they add, so I'm just going to hold up a few of those. You know, they have that clear backing, so you can hold it up to your pattern papers and hold it up to where you think it might go on the page and kind of audition things and see how you like it. So I was looking at that cream grow that had the pink floral pattern along the bottom, and then I was also looking at that pink bloom. Now the grow almost blends in with the photos, and so I wasn't sure if I wanted to do that, but I actually kind of liked that it blended in. It just, I don't know, I just love the quiet feel of it, and I like that it subtly repeats that floral pattern that is going on in the large floral above. So I commit to it and go ahead and just stick it on top of my photo. So now that I have that main cluster done, I'm going to switch gears and try to start working on a cluster up in the upper left corner so that I will create a directional flow on this page where your eye starts in that upper left corner and then moves down to the large cluster where the photos are in the lower right. So I pulled several pieces from the journal bits, and when I got to the end of the pack, there were a couple of tags in there, and I thought, oh my gosh, layering up a couple tags would be really cute, but those tags were quite small, so I decided to cut a few tags from the tags paper, and I'm going to layer those together. I have this solid yellow one that I'm just going to cover up the design on, and then the other one has the light blue dusty floral on the other side, and I'm going to flip that over and use that for my journaling spot and just layer those two together. I also have a few of those journal bits set aside that I think I'm going to use. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and get those two tags in place, and then I'm going to work on layering some more pieces across the bottom. On the cardstock sticker sheet, there was this piece that already had a layered look to it. It had a little floral on the left side and then two little strips coming out on the right. So I thought, okay, that's a good place to start. I'll use that, and then I'll layer up some journal bits behind it. I thought I might add a little splash of yellow with this label, but I end up going with this number strip, and I just like the subtle feel of it with the numbers peeking out behind. So I'll go ahead and add that to the bottom of those tags, and once I get that adhered in place, I'm just going to flip the entire page over and use the straight edge of the layout to trim everything flush with that left side. So I'll ink those raw edges, and then I'm ready to add some twine. Now, I thought I might add twine to both of those tags, so I decided to do a loop on the first one, and then I'm going to add a bow to the yellow one. Now, because I layered them, those two twine pieces were really close together, and I felt like it might get a little visually busy, so I decided to take the loop off of the blue tag, and I'm just going to have the twine bow on the yellow one. Don't worry, I'm not going to leave my tags naked. I don't like to leave them naked. So I'll come back in with a brad and fill that hole in a minute. But while I was on the 12 by 12 sticker, I saw these beautiful moths / butterflies, and I thought that they would be really cute sprinkled around the page. So I added a blue one up in that tag cluster in the left, and now I'm going to come in and sprinkle in a few more in this lower cluster. I'll add a blue moth or butterfly, whatever you want to call it, to the left of my title, and then I will pop up this pink one with its wings open on that circular frame. And yes, it will cover up that honeycomb a little bit, but you know what? It's okay. So don't be afraid to cover up some of your special details like your mixed media or your or, you know, in this case, our die cutting that we did, because you still see it. It just makes it really interesting. You kind of see a little peek of it and your eyes like, oh, there's like a little window right there. So it just makes it more fun to look at. So don't worry about that. So now that I have all of those butterflies popped up, I thought I might come back in and add a few more leaves to this little flower on the left end of this tag cluster. So I find this gray branch and I'm going to snip the end of it off to come to tuck underneath the bottom of the flower. And then I'm going to snip a little leaf off and add it above the flower. So like I mentioned, I don't want to leave my tag naked, so I'm going to add one of the tiny solid brads. I'm just holding the package up to see what color I want to go with, and I decide to go with that dark pink. I also want to add some more butterflies or moths to this page, so I'm going to grab another pink one and add it to the top of the chipboard frame. I'll use the thin foam tape to pop that up as well, and then I'm ready to keep moving on with my layout. Now my very favorite pattern paper on this page so far is that stripe, and I decided, you know what, it'd be really cute to add some of that stripe pattern up in that top tag cluster. So I cut about a 1-inch strip of it, and I thought I might layer it underneath at the bottom where all those other layered pieces were, but it was just a bit too much, so I decided to add it to the top of the tags. So I'm going to banner cut the end of this, ink it up, and I'll peel off all those tags and place this strip, and then I'll just move all the tags down and replace everything as it was before, but just move down a little bit to allow for that striped strip. So as I mentioned, the stripe is my very favorite paper so far, and I'm like, I gotta add some more of this. I just love it. So I thought I might add some to the bottom to anchor the entire layout. So I do cut about a 1-inch strip, maybe a little less, maybe 3/4, and I'm going to adhere that to the bottom of the page and peel up my L-shaped cluster with my photos so I can go and zigzag that on my machine. So I zigzag it with a dusty blue thread, and then I'll go ahead and replace the photos and all the chipboard pieces that I have adhered together. And I think that looks super, super cute. So if you've been watching my videos, you know that I love to add die cuts to my my layouts, and I have these Sprigs Die cuts by Scrapbook.com. I love the outline style of them, and I thought they would be really fun to fill in the spaces around all of these florals. I like that the white ties in with my white photo mats. It also ties in with that white honeycomb die cut inside the frames, and also the white string on the tags. So it just looks really cute. I love how these are looking, and so I'm just kind of dry fitting them and tucking them in here and there, and once I get them where I like them, I'm coming back in with some liquid glue and just tacking them in place. Now I don't slather the entire piece with the liquid glue, I'm just dotting it on a few areas because I like the leaves to feel organic. I like that they lift up a little bit, and even though this will be under a sheet protector eventually, it still has a very textured feeling as the leaves are kind of curled up and lifted up. So give that a try if you haven't. Now, of course, I love my decorative brads. They are one of my very favorite embellishments because they add a bit of shine to your page. So I'm going to bring in a few more. I'm going to add a couple down by the title, to the right of the title, and I'm going to add one to the left of the butterfly up in the tag cluster. Now, on these decorative brads, there's also a few chipboard pieces, and I spotted this little chipboard postage stamp, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. I gotta add that, so I tucked that in under the top edge of the first photo. I also grabbed another floral sticker from the cardstock sticker sheet to add under the top edge of the yellow pattern paper. So I'm almost done with this page. I felt like it needed a few more little leaves, so I snipped the die cuts into smaller pieces and I'm just tucking them here and there, and then that will complete the page. Now, a few things I do off camera. I'm going to add some journaling to the tags up in the top left corner, and then I'm also going to add one more phrase sticker, a yellow one, below the second photo underneath that cream banner phrase, and so you'll see that in the final photos. I hope this has given you some ideas and new ways that you can use your chipboard frames, that they're not only for framing your photo or framing your journaling or for creating shakers. You can also use them as actual layers and shake it up a bit by adding some die cuts to the back of them, like we did with the open style A2 Honeycomb die cut from scrapbook.com. I love the way this page turned out. I hope you did too. Thank you so much for stopping by, and we'll see you again soon.